Okay, Lady Ada, what is this?
Hey, everybody, and welcome to a special video edition of HackSpace Magazine subscription drive coming to you live. It's me, Lady Ada, with me, Mr. Lady Ada.
You can see a giant life size. It's actual Lady Ada size.
It's ginormous.
Of HackSpace.
It's like those big checks that you get.
We've been a fan of the magazine since it launched.
That's right. We've got articles in it.
Great projects.
Products in it.
Lots of cool makers that are featured in each one. And they're coming to the U.S.
That's right.
British invasion.
It's true.
And so we have a special guest, Ben.
Ben.
The editor of HackSpace Magazine.
And also author of many of the articles.
Hey, Ben, how's it going? Where are you right now on planet Earth?
I'm in Cambridge. I'm in the Raspberry Pi offices just outside, Cambridge.
The other Cambridge.
And let's just start off right away. What is HackSpace Magazine? How long have you been doing it? And can people subscribe for 67% off?
So HackSpace Magazine, it's a monthly magazine. Here's the issue that's due out tomorrow. So every month it's 132 pages of making stuff. So it's really anything that involves making stuff can find a place in the magazine.
It's crafting, electronics, soldering, but also like other stuff. 3D printing, I know makes it in there a lot.
Food projects. Looks like you cover
welding.
If humans do it, humans share their creation, it can be in HackSpace.
Definitely. There's a bit of a sort of bias towards sort of electronic stuff, but that's not, it's not to say it's all electronics. Yeah, absolutely. We've got some stonemasonry in this issue, everything.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sewing and knitting and cooking, that's stuff too.
Traditionally, the subscribers were in the UK, and you're shipping from the UK, but now you're coming to the US. So people are always saying, I love the magazine. How can I support it? Well, you're coming to the US, and this is the launch, essentially, for the US efforts right
now.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been going, so this is issue 28, goes out tomorrow, so that's 28 months we've been going. Based in the UK, we have sold to America, but obviously we have to ship each issue, and each issue is quite weighty. It's about 500 grams, which is
132 pages.
Yeah, we don't do grams in the US, but I understand what you're saying.
About a pound, I think that is.
About a pound.
So, we're trying to do the metric system. We have a little. we actually have a badge that we're giving away and try like I Heart Metric and everything. It's just like we're just not there yet. We're gonna get there one day though. That's the only thing that divides us as a culture.
Yeah, so it's about a pound of making every month. We've been shipping it, but obviously that adds up when you're paying it 12 times. So what we're trying to do, if we can get enough subscribers, we'll start doing a print run in America as well. To do that, obviously we've dropped the price to $60. So that's $5 an issue, including delivery.
12 issues. That's a lot of magazines.
Yeah, and we have a special link for people it's at the bottom of the screen here. Subscribe to HackSpace Magazine. It's just hsmag.cc/Adafruit. We get no commission. We get nothing. We're actually just excited to help HackSpace launch in the US because as a former magazine person, I worked with Make and Popular Science and 2600. One of the things that people can do is subscribe. That's how you can show your support for the type of things you want to see in the world. When we go to bookstores, we'll always take a photo, and we always say, we are what we celebrate. And if you want to see cool electronics, and you want to see this type of magazine in the world, here's your chance, everybody. Like this pretty much determines, if you're going to continue to do the magazine long term. Subscribers, that's where it comes from. So speaking of electronics and magazines, we have, I guess this is the first time it's ever going to be shown. We have the next issue.
Yeah, it's a public debut.
Yay!
March. It's not even March. You're getting it 2 weeks early, everybody.
Yeah. So this is the next issue. It's all about electronics. So tell me a little bit about what went into this one and what type of articles and features are in this.
Yeah, sure. So every month we sort of split the magazine up into 4 sections, which we call Spark, Lens, Forge, and Field Test. The idea, Spark's supposed to sort of spark your creative imagination. It's sort of looking at really cool stuff that's out there, and all that sort of thing. Lens sort of focuses in on a few areas. Forge, tutorials and that sort of thing. And Field Test is testing. Maybe the best way is just to sort of have a look through a few of the bits. So,
Right. So
cool. First up, steam engine clock.
Oh my God, you can make tea on it.
This is so Paul Parry, who made these Bad Dog Designs. He does absolutely fantastic Nixie clocks. Mostly using sort of upcycled stuff. He's building a Turing machine at the moment as well. It sort of reads the tape and
then LED glasses.
Yeah.
So this is Mace Tech's projects. This is cool. I love the photography. The photography is beautiful in this magazine. And that's why print magazine is important. Like you get it, it looks good on PDF, but it looks really good on paper.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about magazines, because a lot of these things, you sort of scroll through on your phone, you see them sort of come through on various social media and whatever, but actually sort of holding a full, it's that big in real life. It's it's big up there, it's in your face, and you can actually sort of get a really good sense of what's in there.
Yeah, I like that the ones that the creative projects, you have really good detailed photos, because I actually love looking at people's builds, and like the techniques come through in the photography. Like you really need to have a nice photo to see, how did they do the RGB spacing, and how did they make the hinge on the glasses? And that's something that it's hard to see on a phone, but in a magazine you can really see the detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's Contronics?
This is a good computer.
I like this computer.
I need this computer sometimes at the end of the day.
I'm really torn between it being a really cool build and is it just a little bit of a waste of whiskey?
Yeah, but still.
It looks beautiful there, yeah.
All right, so next up, DNA Sculpture. And, a lot of times I see projects on like Twitter or Instagram, and there's never a way to know who made it or more information or behind it. And I think that's one of the things that HackSpace does a good job. It's like, there's an actual person who built this, and they have a story behind it. And I think that's cool. Hey, I like the different stuff.
And this is
the first time. By the way, it's the first time we've seen this too. I didn't get a chance to look at it.
We saw this on Twitter. It was great.
This is the first time I've seen this.
Yeah, this is Deborah Ansell. She goes by Geek Mom Projects on Twitter, and it's absolutely beautiful. This it's a spectrum analyzer in the LEDs around the bottom.
Yeah,
this is cool, and it looks like they did that like 3D printing technique where you can print on fabric.
Neat.
Or something.
Yeah.
And then what else we got here? We got this cool
copper bicycle.
Yeah, it's 3D printed.
Really?
Yeah, some German engineering sort of testing out the frame design sort of bends to sort of make the suspension.
And then you got Meet the Maker.
Stone masonry.
Yeah, so every month we sort of go out and meet someone who's doing sort of really interesting making in all sorts of areas. Yeah, this month we're talking to a stonemason who's working on medieval buildings in York.
Yeah, that's a question I had is, I know how I used to find people to write about, and I know how we find people and write about them on the Adafruit blog. How do you find some of these folks, or how could someone contact you if they have a cool story, or if they're up to something pretty interesting?
I mean, in terms of contacting us, absolutely. Get in touch. We're on Twitter, Facebook, or email hackspace@raspberrypi.org. In terms of finding people, I think it's really important to sort of have a diverse way of finding people, because as soon as you sort of lock onto one process, you find the same sort of person over and over again.
Yeah.
So in fact, the stonemason, his daughter used to live next door to our features editor, and it sort of comes through all sorts of strange ways like that.
Yeah, especially people who are not online, who like they are doing these old techniques for decades, and they're not going to be on Facebook, or they're not going to be in the forums, and so you have to actually find other ways of reaching out to them. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's no one way. It's obviously some of it is online, some of it's going out and meeting people, some of it's
yeah.
All right, great stonemasonry.
And then one of the things, you have columns in each one. The ones that Bunny did as you started to launch the magazine were fantastic. Lucy's column, always fantastic maker. I've seen her stuff around. What type of columns are you usually looking for?
So we always have to. We used to have Bunny, but he's too busy now, unfortunately. So we've got Drew Fastini of Osh Park fame.
Oh, look at this. Python on hardware. This is one of my interests. So Lucy, you got Drew.
Yes, we always give them quite a very free brief to sort of write about whatever really they're interested in at the time. They're obviously both people really into the maker scene and sort of doing really interesting things. So Lucy's sort of thinking through what you would need in an apocalypse, zombie apocalypse or otherwise.
That's funny.
Couple comments from Discord just to share with the team if you want later. Love the magazine. Tempted to get a second subscription for the content, of course, not the lower price and just freebies. And then some people said, yeah, this was we had HackSpace in our Ada box.
Yes.
And folks really like that. And then folks wanted to know, is it a physical magazine only, or is there ways to get it digitally?
Yeah, absolutely. So the physical way is, I don't know, it's what we spend the most time. It's what we love as a product. But yeah, you can download it. We put every issue online as a download for free at hsmag.cc. You can just grab the PDF there and look at it. Because we're made by Raspberry Pi. We don't focus on Raspberry Pi as a product in the magazine, but Raspberry Pi, and we're an educational charity. So one of the things we want to do is just get people out there and making. So our remit is really, it's more than just making a magazine to make a profit. It's to sort of try and promote making in the world. And the download's there so everyone can access it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes folks just want to support, the magazine. Like I download it, but I'm also a subscriber. Like I put it on my iPad. The article that I'm going to read after we're done, because I didn't know this was in there, is Python on hardware. Drew's doing the badge for Open Hardware Summit.
Yeah.
Along with Alex and Michael. OshPark's a sponsor. DigiKey's a sponsor. Yeah. SparkFun's a sponsor. So it's neat to see kind of some of the changing and evolution of electronics. Like processors are fast enough now, so you can run an interpreted language like Python. And that's usually one of the features you do. You seem to know the Python.
Yeah, I've sort of gone through a sort of a weird and twisting career to get here, but I was a Python programmer for a little while. So, but
go ahead.
One of the things Drew talks about that I didn't actually realize is you can use Python to actually design hardware. It's like a VHDL type thing.
Yeah, Python it's for data sciences. It's for education. It's for high-end computing. Like, it's one of the neat things about it is as it's become the programming language taught in schools like France, it's the national language. It's always kind of a weird thing to say. It's like, no, it's a national programming language. It's neat to see it, no pun intended, snake its way to all sorts of other things. It's such a batteries included language that you can literally get a library for something. You can literally just like, okay, I want this, this, and this, and now you're off to the races, and you don't have to spend all that time reinventing. You could do rapid iteration with the REPL. So we found, like, as soon as it was possible to do with hardware, boy, are people able to get to projects so fast. Like, you can get so much done in 5 minutes. It's still, you have a lot to master, but you don't have that like frustration. The first 5 minutes is so valuable.
Yeah.
And like, we're competing with like Netflix and like the internet, and like kids' attention in particular is hard to get.
I think that's one of the strengths of HackSpace is that it's always looking at the most modern, the most recent, as well as, of course, like checking out what people have been doing for decades, like stonemasonry. But they're really flexible, and I think it's positive that looking at what people are doing that might not be traditional in electronics, which is like my interest, or traditional in 3D printing. And you can contrast that with a lot of other magazines. Like the UK is known for having a lot of electronic magazines, and I read them and I love them. I subscribe to them, but a lot of them are really stuck a little bit in like the 90s or the aughts. Like they haven't transformed. Like they're still kind of the same projects, and it's like, hey, like those are really cool. People using logic circuits or PIC microcontrollers, but there's been like multiple generations of change in electronics and making. And people are like, they're moving so fast that you want to have a magazine that is watching that and reporting on that, and not just kind of having the same ham radio projects over and over again, but like the modern stuff. And I think that's how we're going to get more young people, more people who are doing different, they're interested in veterinary science, they're interested in 3D printing, they're interested in fashion, they're interested in sports, and how to get them interested in making and crafting together.
Yeah, I think part of that is just that we've got such a wide brief. Nothing isn't a HackSpace project. It's not like, we only cover pure electronics, so if it's not pure electronics, we can't include it. We can, if it's mostly a tailoring project with a little bit of electronics to make it look cool, that's absolutely, got space in HackSpace.
Yeah.
And then what type of workflow do you have to get all this stuff in? Like when I used to work on print publications, whether they were quarterly or online or even monthly, it's a huge process. How many people do you have working on the magazine, and what does your month look like every month?
So full-time on the magazine, there's only 2 of us. There's myself and the features editor,
Whoa,
Andrew.
there's only 2 of you?
Yeah, we've also got a designer, but they don't work full-time. We've got sub-editors as well who are freelance. And we've got loads of freelancers sending stuff in as well.
And then, what do you work in? Is it like Quark Express or like what do you...
So the design's done in InDesign.
InDesign?
Adobe InDesign. It's pretty much standard for the magazine industry, at least in the UK. And into the text, I mean, I use LibreOffice, but whatever really, whatever you like.
This is a massive magazine for 2 people to
So how do you break up it? Do you have like first part of the month you're figuring out the features, or like did you already figure out do you know what the next issue is already?
Yeah, so the next issue, in fact, it's on the final page of the magazine. It will tell you what the next issue is going to be. Doing woodworking next issue.
Oh yeah, all right, I'm gonna go there right now. There you go, woodworking.
So yeah, you have to sort of work them both in parallel, really. So we've got the next, in terms of like main cover features, we've got woodworking coming out next, and we know sort of a few in advance, at least got a rough idea. And some stuff's just regular, got certain writers, we just say, we have a brief chat about what it's going to be each month, but mostly it just keeps rolling in. I don't know. The process isn't that formal. Maybe it should be, but we just sort of...
I don't know. If you're 28 issues in, like, if it's not broken.
And yeah, it's one of these things I've always... Well, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've only worked on monthly magazines, so it's just kind of quite regimented. And it just sort of... It almost feels like once you get the ball rolling, the first year was a real uphill struggle to get the ball rolling and get everything going. But now it almost feels like the magazine could keep going and it's got enough momentum behind it, stuff keeps coming in and everything else.
Yeah.
But if anyone's interested in writing for the magazine out there, absolutely get in touch. We're always on the lookout for people doing cool things.
Is there anything that you haven't covered in the magazine that you'd really like to cover? Like, I'll just give you one example that I was not successful in finding the right people that could talk about it, but I really wanted to meet the EEs, the engineers that design part of CERN. Like, they're just hard to find, like the actual, like, you're making this giant
machine. Switzerland.
Yeah, well, it's just like it's hard to find them. Like, who's the person who's like, okay, like that's my jam. Like I smash particles. I wasn't able to find the person. There's people who work around CERN. They're the physicists who smash particles and they look at the things. But like finding the actual EE that did parts of it. So that was not something I was able to find. But is there a quest that you have for the magazine that you haven't been able to find yet? Because this is a good way to do it.
Yeah. I think in many ways it's the ones that we've thought of, we've mostly been able to find. It's the ones that, I hadn't thought of that, sort of the unknown unknowns, if you like. The stuff that's been a little bit difficult and we're still working on a bit is when you really need to make sure that you're being 100% clear on safety stuff. So if you're doing high voltage, if you're doing pyrotechnics, stuff with fire, whoever's writing about that needs to know that stuff absolutely 100% inside out and backwards, and you can't mess around with that.
I mean, you can put all the disclaimers you want on things. Like, we have a disclaimer on our website about like, hey, be safe and all that stuff. But I feel like that's just standard operating procedure. I think as a company, as a brand, I know what we do. We just make sure we're not telling people to do unsafe stuff. There's no like, okay, we told you not to do it. Like, we still have to try hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all the legal stuff, but on a personal level, I mean, you'd feel absolutely awful, if someone got hurt doing your stuff.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you warn someone on a page on a magazine or on a Learn guide or on a website. Just what is your intention? Are you trying to show something that's helpful? Is it a cool project? Or if it's not, then don't do it.
Yeah.
All right.
X-Acto blades are deadly.
Yeah, and then
cut myself with those.
The other thing that's happened over the last, because you're at 28 issues, so that means you're a couple years in.
Yeah.
You also spin out books.
Yeah, we do. We've got a couple of make. So Book of Making. We've done a couple of volumes of this now. It's basically a collection of our favourite projects from the magazine over the past year. Also, we've done a few sort of ones focusing on particular areas. So this one I absolutely love. It's the wearables.
Yeah,
separate projects.
By Sophie Wong, and she's created some absolutely stunning projects, and I mean they're all featured in the magazine. It's one of those things monthly magazines aren't for everyone, right? We accept that. We're not saying absolutely everyone should buy this. Some people don't read every month, whatever. So collect things together in certain ways. So if that's your particular interest, you can go and get a sort of compendium of bits of HackSpace.
Makes for a great gift, I think. Yeah. It's like, especially somebody who's like, I want to do wearable projects. You can go through that book and pick out the easy ones, start with those, and then try other ones, and then modify them and adapt them. So you're not just making the same projects necessarily, but being inspired. And Sophie's guides they're so creative, but not technically complicated oftentimes, which I think is a perfect mix of, like, it's really easy to take something that takes 300 hours and be like, wow, that's an impressive, like, robotic dress. But, like, it's impossible for anyone to build. But Sophie knows how to make projects and explain them that are, like, basically a weekend or two. You could sit down, get some foam core, put together a little servo, and then you've got, some, robotic wings on your lapel or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really easy to sort of get into that thing that, you must do the most technically advanced thing ever for it to be interesting. But it's not the case at all. I mean, even if all you know how to do is use a microcontroller to drive some NeoPixels and change a few colors, you can do loads with that. You can make really
people love that. I mean, like, just being able to change the color of some lights is, make it your favorite color, your favorite pattern, is really life-changing for people. They see how electronics can be a change and programmed. I think, folks have phones and tablets that can do a lot, but it's very hard to program them. And so I love how easy it's becoming with mobile programming, with wireless programming to do electronics and feel like you have a way of affecting the world around you, instead of just like you're consuming this content and you're buying laptops and computers and Netflix and you have no way to do it yourself.
Yeah, and I always think anything that's not a screen is a really interesting thing to program as well. You're so sort of used to computers being sort of rectangular devices that glow in our faces.
Yeah.
It's like, NeoPixels, adjusting a little servo, it's not complex, but you can do fantastic stuff with that. And
I think that I was talking to Phil a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying, like, Britain is just so, like, I think like the BBC Micro is such an intense, like, cultural phenomenon that I really see how, and I think it's positive that all this, Raspberry Pi and HackSpace, these magazines, they're trying to, like, teach that to the next generation, saying, like, we had this awesome experience of computers that we could program.
Yeah, this worked out good for us as a society.
That was so great.
But everyone's getting older, and we need to do that again.
How do we do that again? How do we make it fun?
40s, 50s, 60s, you had that experience as a young person with something new that you could control and program and share. Now everybody has a smartphone, so, like, you don't get to program those as easily.
Yeah, and absolutely. When I was at school, we had, like, I think our school had 2 computers, and they were on trolleys, and they'd wheel them around into the classroom, and it started up, and you just had a blinking cursor, and it was a basic programming language prompt that you could sort of start coding from straight away. There was no open an IDE and install this and do that. It was just a programmable machine that you wheeled into the class and let kids loose on. Yeah.
And speaking of, so when folks subscribe, and if they go to HackSpace, they can go to HackSpace, of course, the site, but you can go to the short URL is hsmag.cc/Adafruit. The US offer also has the Circuit Playground Express.
Yeah.
You get that.
Yeah, so that's free. Any 12-month subscription, whether in the UK, US, wherever, you get a free Circuit Playground.
Not the monthly. You have to subscribe for free. People have asked, it's like, what if I've been subscribing every month, but it's per month? No, you have to go in on a year. But we promise you there's at least 1 year's worth of Circuit Playground Express projects that'll entertain you, guaranteed.
Yes.
Do one a week. We have at least 50 projects you can do one a week to keep you entertained during that year while you're reading the magazine.
Yeah. I really love the Circuit Playground Accessible because there's so much packed. It is one of those things that there's so much on it that it's great. I carry one in my bag just so that, you know, when I'm on the train or whatever, you can plug it in and there's stuff on there that you can program and play with and do stuff in without needing, you know, your box of hardware or stuff.
Yeah, you can use Make Code, you can use Arduino, you can use Python.
People are using like MicroLisp and TVGo. I think it's cool and I like that there's also microbit projects, there's Raspberry Pi projects. There's just projects with I saw you had Play-Doh and LED projects. So really like any range of experience.
Yeah.
You could
and then here's your latest. Getting extra range in neopixels. Use dithering provide extra range and dim light.
Ooh.
So here's your project that you did.
And then the Fade Candy does that. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. Taking it to the next level.
Yeah, because I guess like a lot of people, I use neopixels, but the difference between 0 and 1 on a neopixel brightness is quite a lot.
I know. Yeah. Gamma correction. There could be a full article just on gamma correction and how that works.
Yeah.
Get to work on that, Ben.
Get to work on that.
All right, so we said we'd keep this about a half an hour, so let's give away something.
Yeah.
Freebies.
So, we're going to do some freebies. Now, normally when we're doing our show, Ask an Engineer, we have people call in, and the rule is they couldn't win before. And we have all these rules because we do a show every week, but since this is like a one-time thing, if someone won before with Ask an Engineer, it's okay.
It's okay.
You can win again.
Clean slate, different show.
This is the only time we're going to do this then. So let's give away, how about 2 of these Code the Classic books?
Yeah.
All right.
These are cool. So this is programming, what is it, in Pygame?
Yeah. So the idea is we're looking at some of the older games that were created in the sort of the 80s onwards. There's Pong, there's, I can't remember them all now. And this is nicely shrink wrapped.
And
so it's looking at the history of the games. It's looking at how to recreate them in Pygame. It's half programming, it's half history. It's fantastically interesting.
Okay, well, you can run this on any computer because like every computer in the world can run Pygame. So whether you have Mac, Windows, Linux, Raspberry Pi, you can do this. Get this book and then learn how to code by recreating the industry from scratch.
Yes.
And then you can wear that Atari shirt without irony.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's how we're going to do this.
How are we going to do this?
All of our chats are in Discord because that's where we manage the chats. Before I do this, Ben, can they be anywhere in the world or should it only be US?
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
The first 2 people to post the link, hsmag.cc/Adafruit in the Discord chat, the first 2 people to do that,
the link you see below.
The link that's scrolling this entire time. So just go to the Discord chat in the live broadcast where we're at right now, and just cut and paste or type hsmag.cc/Adafruit, and the first 2 people to do that win. Now, there's a little bit of a delay, which is cool.
People are typing.
People are typing. And what's neat is I can see they're all typing.
Do it.
The first 2 people are Joe DeVivo and Duester. Congratulations, both of you. Those are the first 2 people. So email pt@adafruit.com. Joe and Duester. Congratulations, you won.
Nice work.
Awesome.
So, all right.
But everybody else is a winner because when you subscribe for a year, you get a free Circuit Playground Express.
Yeah.
You get a 67% off. It's such a good deal.
So this is it. And folks out there who want to support things like this, you can't complain that there's not a magazine like this. But it is okay to subscribe and support it. Like, that's how you show that you want to see things like this. All right, Ben.
Okay.
Well, that's our show. Thanks so much, and thanks you for. I imagine you have to immediately start working on the next issue right now.
I know.
We've distracted you.
I can't even imagine your days just like in design, all in.
Yeah.
But the magazine looks beautiful. You guys have just done an amazing job. I love reading it every month. It's fun.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. It's been good to chat
Okay.
about it.
All
All right, Americans,
Cool.
subscribe. You can do it.
We can do it together.
USA,
And for the 2
USA.
folks who won, just email pt@adafruit.com and I'll get your address and I'll send it over to Ben.
USA.
I'll probably just CC Ben and take care of it that way.
Subscribe
right.
now.
Thanks, Ben.
Oh, thanks a lot.